Hey guys, Magna back here for some more tutorials. Today let's talk about using bunker rushes in Terran vs Zerg, and we're going to talk a lot about hitting the timing correctly because every second counts with a build order like this. Unit micro once you have it set up and prioritization of what your Marines should be shooting, and transitions afterward just in case it regulates into a normal game. Just so you don't immediately lose right afterward if it doesn't happen to kill everything or do exactly what you wanted it to do. So just overall, bunker rushes are a very aggressive early game strategy, and I figured I might as well do something about this if you prefer the style of kind of getting on top of them and doing builds like this. So it ultimately will or should lead into longer games, so at least you should know how to play it out if that's what comes down to it. So let's start talking about it a little bit. We're going to take a look at Daishi versus Snoot. And you need to focus exactly on the exact timings that these guys pull everything down to get this started. Basically, every bunker rush is going to start with proxy barracks out on the map. So every SCV pull and every little timing is something that you're probably going to want to pay attention to in these replays, so we can see exactly when they start to do that and where they position their barracks in positions that won't normally get scouted. So we're just seeing Daishi kind of get his SCVs out so he can start his first depot. You will want to start your depots on the wall here because most of the time you're going to have to float your barracks back home and wall off and wait for them to land before you can get more production. So the first SCV comes out immediately as he starts the supply depot. So it's on about 10 supply. He'll start the supply depot and then pull an SCV immediately. And this SCV is going to go somewhere kind of on the side that they won't normally go to. So if Zerg has to send out the first Overlord, they're usually going to send it straight to your base. And then if they drone scout, they're probably just going to walk along a path to your base. So it'll be something like this. They're going to take the most direct route possible. So you want to kind of be off to the side a little bit somewhere. And that's where you can start your barracks. So the first SCV is coming down to start that right now. And you can see where he's rallied to, or at least we should be able to. Yeah, he's rallied a little bit over here to the side, so hopefully the drone won't be able to scout over there. The second SCV comes off at about 11 supply, right when 11 supply starts as far as in your command center. So he pulls the second SCV, and you're usually going to proxy 2 barracks with this type of attack, just to give yourself enough production to kind of bolster all that. So once this depot's done, you can go ahead and send that guy back. From here, it's kind of up to you as far as how hard you want to commit to this. If you want to be super aggressive, you can pull more SCVs once this first barracks is done and start attacking with a lot of these SCVs. Or you can just kind of make him pull drones, make him have to deal with it, and see if he just messes up. You can see on 11 supplies when both of these barracks are going to go down. So the second barrack starts at 11. And a lot of people might say, well, this is a cheese, and this is a cheap way to win. And it kind of is a cheese. It's a very early attack, but cheeses are usually something that if they react like they're supposed to, then you should just lose the game, and that's not the case with bunker rushes. You can regulate into normal games all the time with this type of strategy. So once this first barracks is done is when you're going to want to start a Marine off of there. You also need to make sure that back at home you are keeping up on depots so you don't get supply blocked here, but he starts his orbital as soon as the first barracks is done, and Marine is coming out right now. This SCV that finished up the barracks is going to be the one that drops your first bunker. So a lot of times people will like to start just sending that SCV up immediately and start a bunker a little bit out of the way. And the reason they want to start a little bit out of the way is because the hatchery only has so much vision. If you look at Snoot's vision, it only extends out to about right here. So you could start barracks you could start bunkers right here. And usually they're going to start 2 or 3 bunkers and start filling those up with Marines in order to try and kill the hatchery. So he's got his first Marine coming. It looks like there's an SCV back here building more depots, so nothing too unusual. And you will want to start walling this off, maybe with the third depot as well, but you need to really all get this in order. And then from this point, the whole priority is just getting a bunker up. So you really need to keep this SCV alive as best as you can. A lot of Zergs will start to pull workers and stuff down. By the way, this is a lot stronger against people that open hatch first, so if you find your opponents are opening pool first a lot of the time, this isn't really a build that should do too well against pool first. It's still possible, but it requires them to kind of mess up quite a bit for you to get this started. So first Marine's coming down right now, and it's really just all about how many drones can you kill, and can you safely get the bunker going. So he starts a bunker here with 1 SCV. He's going to want to probably start a second one with his second SCV, and then you're just going to continue to rally Marines forward here. And if you can ever get those bunkers finished, then the Zerg has a really big problem on their hands. So Really just trying to keep your stuff safe from these drone surrounds is the biggest priority. Continually rallying Marines up and keeping them alive is also a big priority. You really just need the Marines killing as much as they can, and you need to not lose basically anything if you can help it. So this first bunker, it's eventually going to go down because there's too many drones being pulled right now to deal with this. And if that's the case, if let's just say you got shut down right there, at that point you would just wall this off with a command center, and then you would float your barracks home and probably make a third barracks. That's usually the transition if this just gets shut down right away. But if they open hatch first, and if they don't deal with this perfectly, then this is a situation you'll probably find yourself being in. You just need to consistently put down more and more bunkers as time goes on. And then your focus with these Marines is killing these spines that might try to come up, and just keeping the Marines alive. Notice that he did pull a few SCVs here, so he's only down to about 5 SCVs and a mule back at home. So when the first bunker got started, he started to pull more SCVs to help him fight these battles. So this is a little bit of a heavier commitment. You don't necessarily have to do stuff like this if you don't want to. You can be a little bit more passive and just, if you don't get the first bunker set up, you could be like, oh well, I'll just go back home and play a normal game. So here, all he's trying to do is just kite back as the best he can. The only priority with this many SCVs being out is keeping your Marines alive for as long as possible. So the whole micro of just kind of scoot and shooting, or whatever you want to call it, stutter stepping, is in play here. And then once the bunker's finished, yeah, Snoot lost way too many drones, so he just says GG. So this can definitely end the game if you run everything perfectly. So that's kind of the first example that we have. Let's take a look at a couple more. And of course, the last one of these will just regulate into a normal game. So it's not as if you will be able to just win this all the time with this type of opener, but it is possible. And really just tiny little bits of execution, such as Marine control, bunker placement, getting everything down to the second is going to really determine whether or not you're successful with openers like this. But if you really don't like playing the typical harassment style of TvZ with Reapers and Hellions and stuff, this is a good alternative. So this time we're going to take a look at TvZ. The opener is going to be pretty much the same in all these. They're all going to proxy barracks because you have to do that to get your Marines that far forward. So TvZ goes ahead and drops the depot, and notice he pulls a worker at the exact same time to get out on the map and start his barracks. So pretty much the same time as Daishi, just a little bit earlier on this. Of course, the size of the map will determine when you need to pull that. And you'll notice he kind of got here with some time to spare. He's also dropping them on 12, so it's a little bit more economic version, considering he has extra workers back at home. So here's the first barracks, second barracks getting started. Once this barracks finishes, you want to rally this SCV forward and start a bunker up by his hatchery, or where it would need to be placed. And of course, continuing workers back here, but starting the orbital as soon as the barracks is done is another good investment with your money. So you can see the barracks finished, orbital's on the way, Marines on the way. SCV is just kind of scouting around a little bit just to make sure he's not being attacked by Zerglings already or something weird like that. And now that the SCV's up here, he should start a bunker here fairly soon. Again, you can wait a little bit longer if you want to, but TvZ, or rather Hyun, starts to realize what's going on. This is another alternative, and another way you can bait drones from coming down really far, is you can start your bunker rush from pretty far away, and make these drones have to come all the way down there to fight this, so you have plenty of room to work with your Marine micro. And if they overcommit this far with this many drones, then they're going to run into a lot of trouble a lot of the time. So the bunker's getting started, but it's really far away from the hatchery. And what he's going to do is if he ever finishes his bunker, he's going to try and start another one here on the higher ground so that he can be protected by his bunker in the back. During all this, the Marines are going to be running back and forth between the bunkers, and if you ever get surrounded or start getting attacked, you can just jump in one or the other and absorb the attack on the bunker and keep your Marines alive. So now that the bunker is finished, he can load in there, and if Hyun were to stick around and try to fight that, he would lose basically every SCV, or rather basically every drone. And then as the Zerg starts to fall back, you want to dump your bunkers and have your Marines pulled out to start killing spine crawlers. So it's a lot of multitasking here, and it's a lot of different decision making, but keeping these Marines as far forward as possible while keeping them kind of safe and not really taking any damage is your biggest priority. So you can kind of dance back and forth in between this bunker, and you'll note that his rally for the bunker, which you can set based upon either you have the bunker selected and you click somewhere, or you can just set it with this hotkey, is where your Marines will go once you release them from the bunker. So all these different micro stuff, or different micro mechanics, are things you will probably want to practice if you want to run builds like this. So again, he's just kiting back against these units here. You want to take as little damage as possible, and if you get in too much trouble, you can just load into the bunker and kind of make him stay for longer than he wants to. So now that the spines are done, though, the spines are going to be ultimately what ends this push most of the time. So this is going to be the beginning of a transition for TvZ. So he's still rallying Marines forward because he can still kind of run a little bit of a contain with his bunker here. But back at home, his transition needs to be dropping extra command centers. And you see that he didn't pull SCVs like Daishi did the last time. So this is a lot softer of a commitment. If it does damage, then great. If not, then there's always a transition available back at home. And usually the transition is actually 2 command centers and then a barracks while you're floating your other one back home. It sounds silly and it sounds really, really greedy, but if you wall off with the command center here with these depots, you can repair for a really long time, and your bunker over at the other side should do pretty well as far as holding any attacks back for the time being. And the reason that this is working out so well for TvZ is because since he built this bunker so far away, he lost a lot of workers. He's only at 5 workers right now, and you can see that 10 of them were killed. So this can break down into a very harassment-based type of style, assuming that they overreact with their drones and they don't really take this too seriously. So that's another opportunity that can happen if they don't handle this absolutely perfectly. Once again, you're not going to break these spines with just these Marines, so you might as well just sit out of range as much as possible and just wait in the bunker for as long as you can. You can see TvZ starting a command center back at home. And really, the play here is just a 3rd command center. You just get as many command centers as you can while you're keeping this protection up here, and then you probably want to eventually float your barracks back home, which we're going to wait until TvZ actually does. So he starts to salvage that bunker once he realizes it's being attacked by the spine crawler. There's no real way he can deal with that. Another mechanic is that if they really break out of here super fast, they should be really low on drones. So it's not that threatening if they're able to ever break out. That's why he's keeping his Marines forward like this. And he's flying his barracks back home. He's starting another barracks as well. And I would have to imagine another command center would be on the way also. So we should see that. And yeah, there we go. A 3rd command, as well as the landed barracks. You can also land your barracks here back at the wall just to create a little bit of a wall in case the Zerg tries a counter all in of like a Baneling bust or something. So that's another option that you can take. You also want to be sure you do keep containment on them for as long as possible, so Zerglings don't just run by and start causing havoc back in your base. That can be really annoying, and that's exactly what's happening here because TvZ just kind of lost focus for a little bit. But the transition from here can be as basically whatever you want. It can be Hellions, it can be into tanks, it can be into stim. However you want to play this is pretty much up to you, but the 3 command center follow-up after this is a really smart idea, and for the most part, if you do it properly, you should be fairly equal on workers, at least to a point where when your medevacs come out or you can start harassing with Hellions, all those are different avenues as to when you can start playing out a more normal game here. So we can see this game start to stabilize quite a bit, and it kind of did give TvZ a bit of an advantage because he did get quite a few worker kills, and with 3 command centers, he's going to have a lot of muling available. So let's take a look at one more really fast, and we'll examine a different way to do this. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter video, but these are really aggressive strategies, and once again it is Snoot being bunker rushed, this time by Euthermal. I'm not sure if that's a coincidence as far as Snoot being bunker rushed twice in these replays and it working out pretty well. Maybe if at the pro level, if players are notably not good at holding off something, then they will have that presented to them all the time. So maybe Snoot has some trouble with builds like this, but I'm not sure. So Euthermal starting his depot, pulling an SCV at the same time to start his first barracks. Whoops, I don't want to do that. And then on 11 supply, you should pull a second SCV here. And he's waiting a little bit too long, I think. And he's actually just going to use the SCV that finished the depot. So he's also starting his barracks a lot further away. So this can be a little bit harder to run. And I mostly want to take a look at back in his base. He pulls a 3rd SCV this time on about 14 supply. And this is so he can start 3 bunkers at a time once this SCV finishes the barracks. And we'll see this in action, and we'll just have to wait for that to happen. So he's waiting for his first Marine. He's going to push up here with 3 SCVs. He's already got the 3rd one up here. And what you do is you kind of build a wall with bunkers all at the same time, so it's really hard for them to kill all of them, and you can sit your Marines behind the wall and keep them protected for a long time. These type of bunker rushes are really annoying, and they're really strong if you can get that started. So Euthermal, first of all, he's just scouting around to see what's going on here in the main. If this were pool first, then you would have to react differently and build buildings back at home, because it would be a lot easier for them to overrun this. So that's kind of what that first SCV is doing, is double checking that it actually is hatch first, but just seeing the progress on the hatchery at this time, he would know anyway, so maybe just trying to buy a little bit of time and kind of fake him out a little bit, I'm not sure. But The spines start, but either way, as long as you get the bunker started and you can protect your Marines behind these bunkers, if any one of the 3 finishes, this is going to be pretty tough for Snoot to deal with. So you just kind of stand your Marines back here. You can start to seek forward and try to get these spine crawlers focused down, considering if the spines finish, you're going to have a little bit of a hard time. But the other benefit is that if you have 3 SCVs here, you can repair bunkers that are being attacked. So everything gets pulled here to try and stop the bunkers from getting started. The 4 Marines behind here basically have free reign to do whatever they want, and if one bunker ever gets finished, you can obviously just load them in there and you'll be just fine. Now they can hit the spine crawler. It'll be up to Snoot to have to move this back. 2 out of the 3 finish, and that's great. If 3 out of the 3 ever finish, then they're going to lose the hatchery, basically no question. And once again, if you have these 3 SCVs here, you can just go ahead and repair. He decides to pull a couple more just to build extra bunkers and to have the stronger repair potential. But for now, your focus should really be to let the Marines attack whatever they want. If they're sitting inside the bunker, they are hitting the hatchery mostly because that's all they can hit. The spine crawlers can slightly outrange the bunkers if you place them properly. And then all of a sudden now he's lost his natural hatchery. It's 1 base versus 1 base. And if you go into your 3 command center transition after this, you should be in really great shape because it'll be 3 commands against hopefully 1 hatchery, assuming they can't break out. Another thing to notice is that auto repair can be triggered here. If you just select your SCVs and right click on repair, it'll turn it on, so they'll just repair anything if it gets hurt. So that's probably a good thing to do. He's manually controlling it here, but it is costing him a little bit of time. He's taking a little bit of damage on these bunkers. One thing to know here is that once you get enough Marines, you can start dumping them out of the bunkers, assuming you haven't lost any, and try to kill some of these spines. But if you are killing the creep will eventually recede, and then these spine crawlers will start to bleed out anyway, so that's an option you can maybe play. I think this queen's actually coming down to drop a spine, or rather a creep tumor, to keep these spine crawlers alive for a little longer. Back at home, Euthermal's taking a little bit of a different transition though. He's going double gas, and he might actually just start a factory immediately after this to continue on the pressure, but I really don't like this transition nearly as much as I like the transition into more command centers and extra barracks just to wall everything off. He's moving his barracks back home now, and if you just land all these here, you can create a really nice wall that can absorb a lot of baneling damage and a lot of roach damage if they decide to just counter all in you, which is definitely possible. One last thing you should probably check for that it's never seen in the higher leagues, but could be seen in the lower leagues, is a response of a Nidus. If they were to get a Nidus in your base, they would bypass your wall and kind of nullify any advantage that you had. So you really do need to spot for that and be ready to pull workers for it. So that's another thing to look out for. But this is going to regulate into a normal game. As you can see, it goes on for 21 minutes. So it's not like these openers are just designed to kill them right away. If it does, then that's great. But if not, then you need to be comfortable knowing how to play out of this. And really just getting into whatever transition you're most comfortable with, whether it's Hellions or more Marines or tanks or something like that. Something you need to definitely practice. So if you want to practice builds like this, I would find a Zerg practice partner and just tell them, I'm going to bunker rush you several times, and you can even tell them the way to hold it off, and that would probably be best practice for you, is tell them this is how you hold it. You're supposed to deny the bunkers the best you can and get spine crawlers up and try to save your hatchery, and also you can practice against them maybe going pool before hatch, so they'll have Zerglings out by the time you're trying to start your bunkers, so you can practice even those transitions as well. But a very well practiced and a very knowledgeable bunker rush player is very hard to stop in this matchup. So I thought I'd at least talk about it a little bit so you guys know what's going on with that. And I'll be back with more videos here very soon, detailing very special situations throughout the game. Kind of stuttering a little bit, but what can you do? So there's a playlist down in the description if you want to check out more of my Terran tutorials. You can also leave a comment if you have any questions about anything, about any of the implementation of bunker rushes and whatnot. But yeah, I'll be back in the very near future with more stuff, so check it out. I'll see you then.